Larry Freedman, Co-President of LAFC and a member of the ownership group. Thanks for being here with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Another great year for the club. Wondering you could tell us, what's going on right now, where you guys at as you gear up for the 2026 season.
Yeah, 2025 was obviously a big year for us. Had some successes on the pitch, brought over an incredible player in Sonny, and have seen the early returns on that investment. We've talked about what happened with our broadcast ratings around the world, what happened with our social media following, the engagements, the impressions, and it's all really, really exciting. And right now we're gearing up. 2 weeks from tomorrow, we will be at the LA Memorial Coliseum to open the MLS season, where we will be hosting current and reigning MLS Cup champion Inter Miami and Leo Messi to kick it all off in a World Cup year. And what better way to do that, Justin, than with the captain of South Korea, Son, and the captain of the defending, reigning World Cup champion Argentina. There's a recurring theme with Mr. Messi.
I've seen it myself, and not a bad way to start the year. Of course, you mentioned Son. I got to ask you about it. Take me through kind of the quick version of how you brought him over and kind of the economic and business impact you saw almost immediately from him.
Sure, and bringing him over, all credit to my co-president and our general manager, John Thorington, who found a way to get on a call with Sonny, who was evaluating options that did not include North America, did not include MLS. He wasn't thinking about LA, LAFC, none of it. It wasn't on the dance card. And John really opened his eyes and wooed him, courted him, and made it happen. And the impact was immediate on all fronts. Right? I think any general manager in the world would say, oh, if I could have the player, I would take the player. And then you have the X factor that you hoped for but couldn't count on, which was the chemistry on the field with a player like Denny Bouanga and others. And, we just became a different and better team. And the guy is like walking sunshine. And so the mood throughout the performance center where the players are, through the front office, everywhere, everybody was just happier because that's what this guy does. He's infectious. And then from a business perspective, obviously demand for tickets became very, very different. Huge Korean American, Southeast Asian American population in and around Los Angeles. Believe it or not, a huge Tottenham Hotspur population in Los Angeles, and a lot of sophisticated football fans who may not have taken notice when we had Bale or Chiellini or Hugo Lloris or Carlos Vela. But when you bring a guy at this time in his career, at this level of play, everybody takes notice. And so from ticketing to brands that are now interested in partnering with us, it's obviously there are some Korean-based companies that are very interested in coming into the fold with us. We've announced Paris Baguette, My Real Trip, Wire Barley, all, Korean-based companies. More to come. A lot of conversations going, but other global or local brands also realize it's a different day now for LAFC and MLS, and it's a World Cup year. Probably ought to get on the bandwagon now while the getting's good.
No, it makes sense. I'm glad you mentioned kind of the Korea connection there, because we've seen, whether it's Messi, whether it's Shohei Ohtani, other sports, being able to tap these lucrative other international markets that you necessarily couldn't is a game changer. So how does that kind of reshape your growth trajectory as you go forward? Because obviously you can budget for certain things, but when you now can woo Korean sponsors, that kind of changes the mathematics here.
Yeah, absolutely. And you dive into this for a living, and you have a sense of how we have built our organization. But this is, there are some big numbers on people's backs coming into the year ahead. You look at things like not only your ticket pricing, and look, we went out and renewed our season ticket holder base pre-Sonny. So now you're dealing with, the limited single game group inventory, but you're also looking at the secondary market because fortunately for us, that is, we have some interest. Even though I sold you the ticket, if you sell it on,
Yeah.
we still have an interest in how that all goes. But there is an expectation that as we studied the Dodgers down the road,
Yeah.
and I think we talked about this, it's not an automatic, you sign the player and therefore all of these things happen. I think what we learned with Ohtani, because you could look 20, 25 miles south
Yeah.
and say, well, that didn't happen down there with the LA Angels of Anaheim, but it did happen, and it was exponential
Yeah.
with the Dodgers. So, we were watching and studying and really felt that it was, the 1+1 = 3, but it has to be the right one and the right one to really make the equation work. And we felt that with our brand, the quality of the player, the quality of the human, his commercial appeal, our
Yeah.
commercial appeal, you put that all in the blender and mix it up together with the market we sit in Los Angeles, Southern California, wildly diverse from a demographic perspective,
Yeah.
and huge football population. So we really were expecting big things from this. It will not be Messi like, one of one.
Yeah.
I don't think it will be Ohtani like. He's also a one of one, we'll call it in baseball. But, this is a great player who has his own great brand.
Yeah.
And winning on the pitch is good for business. And we didn't quite get where we wanted to this past season. But, John is out there making some tweaks, and I think we're going to be significantly better than we were last season. So, we expect pretty big things all across the enterprise.
To your point, again, Messi and Ohtani are one-on-one type players, but getting a player like Son is representative of kind of this next phase that MLS wants to be in, where
100%.
every team has a player of this caliber, not necessarily one that can own an international market, but players on that level. How are you thinking about kind of the transition now into what I believe they call it MLS 3.0? And a lot of that has to do with announcing an intended change in the competition schedule, reshaping the Apple deal to potentially, have another media rights deal on the other horizon. And, when you think about players specifically, changing the ways you spend and invest in players to bring more talent over. So how do you think about all those things on your club level?
Yeah, I think we look at all of that, and look, the reshaping of the Apple deal is great. More access, both through the Apple platform, because now, the MLS season pass is included
Yeah.
when you become an Apple subscriber. They are also actively engaging in discussions and creating partnerships that get the Apple product out on other platforms, which is all good for us.
Yeah.
And you look at, we are proving the model. Miami did it in a big way, where if you go out and you make this kind of commitment to an upper tier player, you don't necessarily have to look at a spreadsheet that has a negative at the end of it.
Yeah.
And hopefully others will follow our lead. We've tried to do a bunch of this along the way. Look, we started with Carlos Vela,
Yeah.
who came to us, committed in 2017, was with us in our inaugural season, went to Russia, was arguably the best player on the pitch for Mexico in that World Cup.
Yeah.
Did incredible things for putting us on the map and helping us build a following, build a community, build a brand. And with Bale, Chiellini, Hugo Lloris, Olivier Giroud, you start to get more people paying attention.
Yeah.
And with a player like Sonny, I think the message is this can work from a build your fan base, build your brand perspective. It can work from a business perspective. And it also opens the mind, I think, as did Leo Messi, of other players who see that, wait a minute, captains of national teams are playing in MLS.
Yeah.
And if I want to be in the hunt for a spot on my national team, I don't have to worry that my national team coach is going to think I'm off playing AYSO soccer because I'm playing for the Columbus Crew or the Chicago Fire. It's just not the case. And I think that's where we really hit stride in MLS 3.0,
Yeah.
where we have this tournament in North America, primarily in the US this summer, and people will be connecting those dots over that 39-day period where it's like, oh, wait a minute. Wait, that guy who plays for a club in MLS is on this national team, doing great things, leading his team on a deep run into this tournament. And you're going to see it all across the league with U.S. men's national team players, Canadian national team players, Sonny, Messi, others. There's just so many. And we're going to tell that story, probably to the point where folks like you who are close to us will get tired of hearing it. But it's a story that needs to be told, because this is our opportunity to connect those dots on a league that was born out of a World Cup, but now is participating meaningfully in a World Cup.
Yeah. Well, how does the 3.0 model kind of change how the revenue pie works? Because again, like, well, the Apple deal is different, moving the schedule, kind of wanting to open up for more player spending. MLS teams typically are kind of on this 40% sponsorship, 40% ticketing, 20% everything else model. LAFC is a bit different. You guys are ranked very high on Polestar in terms of concerts. You have the billboards, you have other lines that you've used to kind of elevate the business. But I'm wondering, when you do see the league on the other side of this, whether it's you guys or everybody, how's that going to look different?
Yeah, I think that it will look different for everyone. Obvious, the stadium situations are all different, right? We still have some clubs that play in NFL stadiums or stadiums they don't control the way we do, so they don't have that opportunity. But I think that what they see is you're filling your building, active secondary market. You have the ability, because that demand is there, to continuously increase ticket prices in a reasonable way, not to offend your fan base, but that can be a growing business.
Gradually.
And look, butts in seats, right? Just because you sold the ticket, I can sell you the ticket, Justin, but I still need to get you in your car or on the metro and get you to BMO Stadium. But once I get you there, you're buying t-shirts, hats, scarves, jerseys, you're eating, you're drinking, you're paying to park. And all of those ancillary match day revenues are influenced by how many people are actually showing up on the day. And buildings across our league could use a little help being full on match day. And so I think it's not unrealistic to think about a 3.0 where the bigger stadiums in the league, this isn't a knock on Atlanta United, but that's a big stadium to fill for 17 games. And it's not always Miami and Messi who is the opponent. But if you get to a point where you're building the league through these better players, and the level of play is increasing, the competition becomes more interesting, now you're moving your business because you're taking advantage of the full ticketing opportunity. Same thing with partnerships. Butts in seats lead partners to believe that this is where they need to be. This is where the action is, because I want to connect with that audience. And whether that's the wildly diverse audience that we have, where you have a little bit of everything, or it's the team in Chicago where German brands or Polish brands, everybody's got their various ethnicities. I think that's where it really makes the big difference for everybody in this league.
To your point about, getting butts in seats, the reality is you do have some markets in the league, say Chicago, Dallas, who, are working on stadium solutions that could really bring them, our numbers, but to the higher level, to the higher level valuations of the league. How crucial is it to get those markets to really realize their business potential?
I think, like any league, you're never going to have everybody firing on all cylinders at the same time. But I think we'll use Dallas as an example. Massive renovation on their stadium. And as a guy who used to be involved right down the street in Frisco, Texas, in AA baseball with the Frisco Rough Riders, that it is sweltering. And on a sunny day in Frisco/Dallas, Texas, if you have a stadium where you don't have cover, it's difficult. We have that problem. We play on a Sunday afternoon or a Saturday afternoon in LA. The east side of our stadium is, kind of like an oven. And we realized that on the second home match we ever had, which coincidentally happened to be against FC Dallas. But I think what they're doing and creating a different improved fan experience will do significant things for their business, get more butts and seats, and away we go. So I think, and Chicago, Dave Baldwin and his crew, they're going to be moving to a new building.
Yeah, privately financed building.
And you got to give Joe all the credit in the world for making that bet on themselves. But, I look at what's going to happen, there's no question, in New York City.
Yeah.
And the early returns there that is going to be amazing, both from an experiential and a commercial perspective. And expect the same thing in Chicago, which is awesome because those are the two of the big markets in the league.
Yeah.
Where there's been room for improvement, but you have ownership groups that see it and are doing something about it.
Yeah.
So that's going to make a huge difference for our league.
Yeah. And when you think about kind of some of the other markets, like, there's two very public sale processes going on with Vancouver and San Jose. Obviously, that's really tied to their stadium situations. And I'm wondering, what advice would you give for prospective owners there? And like, how do you approach this? Because again, Vancouver's got a complicated issue. San Jose's got a complicated issue. And like, these are muddy waters here. And I'm just wondering how you see that and how you would advise playing it out.
Yeah, look, from the Vancouver perspective, I would say my own experience right now is we made the investment.
Yeah.
And we own and control BMO Stadium. We are partners with the Angel City Football Club.
Yeah.
We are part of the ownership group at Angel City Football Club. But they, on paper, are a tenant in the building.
Yeah.
I much prefer the position we're in.
Yeah.
And I don't think anyone would argue the contrary. And for San Jose, San Jose built their building in and around the same time we did, and they had a different vision for it and spent, less than a third of the money. Our vision was the more premium spaces that you put in that building, the more ticket revenue you would drive. And, you had to spend money to make money.
Yeah.
And it was a risk. And we made that bet, and the bet paid off. And I think for San Jose, it's a horseshoe building. They did a wonderful job making use of that open end by creating the largest outdoor bar in the state of California.
Yeah.
And it's a great experience. I go there every season when we go up there, when we're not seeing them at Levi.
Yeah.
And it's awesome. But at the end of the day, could it be better if that end was enclosed? And if they had more premium than just the ground level suites?
Yeah.
I think what we have bears out that point. What New York City's building bears out that point. Look at the designs for Chicago. Look what they did in Austin. Look what they did in Nashville.
Yeah.
It turned, and look, it is a lot easier. I said this at the time. It was a lot easier for us to go 23rd and see what everybody else did. And you could say to Jake Reed in Kansas City, what worked? And by the way, what would you do differently?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And everybody in the league helped us in that regard. And that's why it's easier now, Leo Messi aside, for Inter Miami to say, all right, what are we going to do? New York City, what are we going to do?
Yeah. Yeah. No, that makes sense. Before I let you go, we got to talk a little World Cup.
Let's do it.
All right. So, different markets have different opportunities here. Your market has a pretty big opportunity here. How are you going to take what happens during the World Cup and translate that into revenue for LAFC?
We are going to take advantage of that 39-day period in a number of ways. Obviously, as I said earlier, we will tell the story over and over and over again about the players on our roster. Chanier plays for Canada. We've just picked up a couple of additional Canadian national team players. Obviously, Sonny, we hope both of those teams run deep. We will have a yet-to-be-announced takeover at our building for a period of the World Cup. We have the Fan Fest, the official LA host committee. Fan Fest will be in the building next door, so there's going to be some connectivity between the two buildings.
Yeah.
And we will be out in the community doing watch parties and other events where we're going to meet the people where they are.
Yeah.
And the sheer fact that 8 of these matches will be at SoFi Stadium. The world will descend upon the city of Los Angeles, and Angelinos themselves will be caught up in this moment. And when the moment ends, by the way, in that window before the final, we're going to have an El Trafico Galaxy LAFC that will be on Big Fox, which is a great opportunity when everybody will be jonesing for more football, waiting for the final. What I believe, I was going to say arguably, but I don't think I even need the qualifier. The best rivalry in this league, bar none, has been LAFC, the Galaxy, El Trafico. And to have that opportunity and that showcase for that event is going to be awesome for us. And so I think it's just an unbelievable opportunity, as I mentioned before, where, this league born out of a World Cup with 10 teams, now with 30 teams, doing incredible things in markets like Nashville, Tennessee, St. Louis, and Austin, Texas, in addition to 2 great clubs in Los Angeles, Seattle, Portland, Miami, etc. I think it's just an unbelievable opportunity to fully lean into the beautiful game, the global game, and take advantage of a moment where people are going to be traveling from all over the world who, by the way, don't have a ticket and aren't even interested in buying a ticket. They just want to be a part, kind of like what we're doing right now. You just want to be a part of everything that's going on around the game or games, because it's an event. It's not just a game or a series of games.
Well, as far as World Cup goes, I hope you're ready for the traffic around the city. But Larry Freedman, thanks so much for coming by today.
Thank you, Justin.